So we did the career and calling LinkedIn project. Think you know who we are?
So the objective of our project was to develop an automated and scalable process to keep alumni job titles and employers in Salesforce current by integrating data from LinkedIn, because that's the most up-to-date platform in this day and age. It seems like this ensures that Bethel systems reflect the most accurate and up-to-date alumni career information. So why this project matters is stronger alumni engagement. You can easily identify where alumni are now for mentoring and networking opportunities like Bethel Biz or something like that. And then better career support for students. You can connect the right students with the right people. And then improved fundraising opportunities. You can basically target the correct people with the right campaigns.
So then this is just an overview of the technology that we use and explore throughout this project. First is MuleSoft, so it's like basically a connection from Salesforce, but it's just a platform that tries to automate everything and it provides like integration solutions. We then looked into Salesforce, so just like the basic CRM platform that Bethel uses to hold all of its alum info. Anypoint Studio, it's a integrated development environment used for building and testing APIs. So this was like the code environment that we were exploring, as well as Excel, Google Sheets, and then Zapier.
So the process that we went through over the last month and a half, first was getting the scope of the project. We got a lot of this when Stan came in, and we were able to figure out what their current process was, which was a lot of manual, go down the list, is this correct or is this still accurate? Oh, if this is different, then I'll change it. So very long process, they use a lot of hours and there's probably human error in it. Then our next thing was data extraction from LinkedIn. Ideally, we would have gotten the login to the Bethel LinkedIn. We were not able to get that, so we just used the connections that I downloaded earlier in the semester, and then I downloaded them again, assuming that there was going to be changes. And then our next thing was exploring different softwares. This is where we looked at MuleSoft, we looked at Zapier, and then we also considered Excel as like a backup option, which we did end up using. And then going into MuleSoft, we explored the different features. There's much more beyond this, but there was integration, automation, data transformation, event planning, Anypoint Studio, and more. So essentially, we'll get to this later in the presentation, but we did not end up going with MuleSoft, so we were exploring other opportunities. We ended up going with Excel and then Zapier. It wasn't full automation, but it was an improvement in their process and hopefully less human error. And then after we were done with this, we reflected on further applications. We still think MuleSoft is a good one. And then there was like Boomi and PipeLaunch.
So these are some of the setbacks we experienced throughout this project, and then just sort of our steps taken to keep moving forward with it. The first one was just lack of necessary authorization to LinkedIn and Salesforce. So right off the bat, we did not have the adequate information or access to these platforms. So we had to pull our own personal data and just kept looking into other platforms and softwares. The next setback kind of was just the advanced coding language in Anypoint Studio. We had never come across this coding language before, so there was just a big learning gap there. So our initial step was researching Anypoint and trying to figure out a way to still move forward with it, but ultimately we decided to step away.
Can you go there real quick just to share with them? So we all did Zapier in class, and Zapier was just describe Zapier and MuleSoft and how they're different. They're basically a similar platform, and I thought they would be just as user friendly. But what did we find out?
MuleSoft is more of the coding aspect of it. It wasn't an easy drag and drop and figure out different features. It was coding that we did not recognize.
You would maybe go grab a code snippet and put it where it tells you to put it, and then nothing would work.
Could it be an error?
Yeah, you get an error.
The last one was just software complications. So when we were looking into these different softwares, we kept hitting dead ends basically. So we kept having to sort of reevaluate our roadmap to ultimately get through this project.
And I think a lot of that part was talking to Whiting and being like, we're stuck again. And then he was like, okay, we'll start over here. We had to start over with Zapier like 4 or 5 times, but then also we started over with our like process of straying away from MuleSoft. So the first temporary solution was Excel, which we did in class. I have like a little video of how I did it. It's very simple. It's just like I had the April connections, and then I uploaded new May connections. Then I had it on 2 different slides, and then I just used conditional formatting. And you can see changes in like last names if you get married, or the company that you work for, or job position. And then I just highlighted it as like red or orange, but not ideal with 30,000 connections. That's what it looks like. You can see.
So then our temporary solution number 2 was a zap that we came up with. So it starts with a trigger when you receive an email from LinkedIn. So you all get those emails where it's like you have 10 notifications or something, or when someone updates their job. So this would trigger it, and then it would format it by taking the name, the company name, the new job title, whatever like information is given, using the text transformation to then ultimately put it into a new row in a Google Sheet. So you'd have a Google Sheet of all the new updates.
So then, key takeaways from our project. The first one is adaptability is key. Again, there were many times where we just had to like reroute our project. So when MuleSoft wasn't feasible, we identified practical ways that they could improve their process, even though it was probably pretty small. And then progress over perfection. Even without full automation, the small steps like manually updating the data or using small tools like Excel moved the project forward a little bit.
And then access and permissions matter. So like from the start, this was just something we really struggled with. And I think having the adequate information and access would have been a lot more beneficial to us. But with that, just kind of like failure is a learning opportunity. So although we didn't solve the project the way we had initially planned to, we still came up with alternative solutions that could still potentially be beneficial to Stan and his team.
Questions? I'll always have something. What questions do you have? What was unclear? What? Yeah.
Did you guys run into any issues with like a paywall of any sort? That maybe there was something that would have worked well, but was behind some sort of fee?
Most of the things that we ran into was either a 7-day free trial or a 30-day. We were pretty lucky with that, but.
And you have a notification to cancel your 7-day subscription?
I just did
She
that.
just did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't forget.
And with your 7-day, oh no, that was for MuleSoft? Was that
MuleSoft
for-
was
Zapier.
30 days.
Oh, okay. Zapier was only 7 days now. And with the 7-day, you would have been able to access Salesforce. It looked like you could access Salesforce
Yeah.
with that 7-day.
I
So
think so.
had we had the right access right away?
What was like the hoped advantage with using like MuleSoft that you, like as opposed to Zapier? Like if MuleSoft would have worked, what was like the hope?
There was like such a good MuleSoft is part of Salesforce, so it was just like a really easy connection and really good automation. You could do it like constant or weekly or something like that. Zapier is like an outside source, so it would have been harder to integrate it, we believe.
Because we were trying to upload it to Salesforce, so like the MuleSoft was already a part of Salesforce, so it was just a more easy integration.
Yep. MuleSoft has an integration to LinkedIn. Zapier has one, but only to push content to LinkedIn. So to get LinkedIn data, they had to integrate with email and email notifications. Whereas they could have gotten, when something changes in LinkedIn, MuleSoft would recognize it and then update Salesforce. So that probably is the right solution going forward. It just isn't nearly as user-friendly. I had never played with it. I assumed it was going to be drag and drop like Zapier, but clearly no. you showed a video that was compared. Did you do the remember the in-class Excel compare?
Yeah, I did it, but I just did it with the information for LinkedIn.
Okay, so you have a video
I
to
have it.
share with them about the PC version of Excel compare and what it can do.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the reason to do the Google Sheets was we didn't have access to Salesforce, so you could pretend like you're updating something with Zapier. So you would just replace Google Sheets with Salesforce, and you would be able to update things. So they showed proof of lots of little things, just not anything that came together. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, good job.